I'm Alan Wallace of Cola Daily. I'm here today with Mattison Heatherly of City Social. She's one of this year's experienced Columbia, South Carolina ambassadors. Mattison, tell us what it means to be an ambassador.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited and honored to be an ambassador for the 2023 year. What it means to be an ambassador is just to be a cheerleader for Columbia. So people that have an insider look on our community, things to do. Throughout the year, we're going to be doing different videos, interviews, and things like that, showcasing our own opinions and our favorite things to do throughout our great city.
That's wonderful. And let people know a little bit about you. I know that you founded City Social in 2019, and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so City Social is a digital marketing and public relations company that focuses on hospitality brands. So the majority of our restaurants are the majority of our clients are restaurants throughout the community, mainly all independently owned, which is, I think a huge part of any community is the restaurant scene, and for the locals and for tourism. And so I founded it in 2019 as on the side of my corporate job, just really had an interest in promoting local restaurants, and it's blossomed into now we have 12 clients, and I do this full time, and our team is growing, our client list is growing, and I think it's a great testament to the Columbia hospitality scene that there is that growth here.
Well, that's fantastic. And are you from Columbia originally?
I'm not. I'm actually from Odessa, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Which is a small town in West Texas. And, I think that's where my interest in food and restaurants really blossomed or started. Was just, I always wanted to get out and try more. Yeah. Just not having that many options in my hometown. Anytime we traveled, I, really, excuse me, I really was just wanted to try different things. And throughout my young adult life, was able to travel a lot through my corporate job at the time, and just for fun. And I just always found that restaurants were, what I wanted to plan around any destination.
Oh, sure, that's great. And what brought you here from Odessa?
So my husband's job actually brought us to Columbia, and I had never been here. When he told me that we could possibly be moving here, we moved to Charlotte first for about 9 months, and he ended up commuting down here for 3 days a week. And we were like, okay, do you want us in Charlotte or you want us in Columbia? So they said Columbia, and we said okay. And I just was in that young stage of life where I was like, I'll live anywhere, and if we don't like it, we'll move somewhere else. And we actually have fallen in love with living here. We've been here about 5 years.
That's great.
And it's pleasantly surprised us.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and we've heard that from a number of the past classes of South Carolina Experienced SC ambassadors. People who started out somewhere else came here and realized Angela Young Sellers, who owns Fit Columbia, was one who said she had lived some other places, got here, and just decided, hey, this is the place, I don't want to leave. So what has it been about Columbia that made you and your husband fall in love, want to stay here, as opposed to going somewhere else?
Yeah, I think it's like just the sweet spot. It's not too big, it's not too small. There's plenty to do. It's growing. There's potential for the community to, not necessarily get too big, but I think there's great restaurants, and that scene's growing. The university has its own heartbeat in the city, which I think is really cool. Growing, or when I went to Baylor University in Waco, kind of a similar sized town. That I loved. It was bigger than my hometown, and then Columbia's a little bit bigger than that, and I think it's just a really good sweet spot, and the people are great. So
that's great. And your job being what it is, working with, like you said, mostly independent local restaurants are most of your clients, so you kind of were, by nature of work, sort of pushed into becoming a bigger part of the community than maybe someone in another line of work would, right?
Absolutely. And that was, a big part of just growing my company, was getting out and, meeting people and meeting, those people that are in the hospitality scene, and honestly just supporting them. Some of my clients have come through just me supporting them on my own pages, and they're like, hey, we've seen that you do social and websites and PR, and you constantly come in here and eat here. Do you want to work with us? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
So I think a lot of that organic growth comes from a place of just supporting people.
It's wonderful. So when experience came to, how did you come to be an ambassador? How does that process work? They just approach you and say, "Hey, Mattison, are you willing to do this?"
Yeah. So just kind of being in that line of work, knowing a lot about Experience Columbia, and I was familiar with the ambassador program. I've had friends in the past that have been ambassadors, which is a huge honor, especially that they choose for the entire year. I think that's really, really cool. It's a huge honor. But yes, it is a something that you are asked to do.
That's great.
And it's an honor.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So you said you've been here 5 years. Tell us some of your favorite places to go, things to do in Columbia.
Oh gosh.
And I know it's a long list. We don't expect you to cover it all, but yeah.
It is a long list, and all of my clients are fantastic. We work with a large range of from like fine dining down to a hole in the wall Drake's Duck Inn on Main Street. I mean, it's been there for forever. The food's fantastic. The people that are running it are great. So it really just depends on what you're looking for in Columbia, but there's definitely something for everyone. Some of my favorite spots are Koa, Gabria, and the Vista for a good date night or girls' night out. I love, just grabbing a slice of pizza at Village Idiot. Duke's Pad Thai over in Casey has so much to offer. Smoked on Main Street is just absolutely gorgeous. Their patio is beautiful. So a lot of my entertaining revolves around food and drink, which is great. There's just so much to do. I mean, honestly, you could spend an entire day on Main Street. There's bowling, there's the golf simulators on the other side of the street. There's great food from all types,
Always live music somewhere.
Always live music somewhere. There's a museum, a great ice cream shop. I mean, you can literally start from breakfast to entertainment to dinner to drinks and then the movie theater. I mean, you could literally spend an entire day on Main Street, which I think is really cool.
That's great. Yeah. Have y'all had, and of course you mentioned your job as part of it, but y'all moved here as young professionals. Y'all hadn't grown up here. Have y'all has it been easy for y'all to make friends, to get to know people here in Columbia, South Carolina?
Yeah, I think so. It's hard at any town, especially at that age where you're working and you don't know a lot of people, and with the remote age that we live in now, everyone's working remotely.
Oh yeah.
So when I first moved to Columbia, I was still working for a corporate company, but remotely, and would travel on client sites throughout the country. And so it was hard for me to meet people, but I was determined to just get out and go to the different events that the museum's hosting, or there's a great organization called Columbia Opportunity Resource that I've met some fantastic people through. There's a lot of young professional organizations around town,
great,
and just honestly just getting out and going out to eat and posting about it on social media is really how I have met so many people through my own personal pages of people just messaging me and be like, "Hey, I just moved here. Where do I go to eat?" And I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you. Thanks for asking." So
and we see that all the time. I know there are Facebook groups that are dedicated to just food in Columbia. And it seems like, and I've lived some other places too, people here, Southern hospitality isn't just a myth. People here really are friendly, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and I think it's hard when you move to any new city, but I think you just have to put yourself out there, really. I mean, one of my best friends I met through messaging on Instagram.
Oh, that's great.
It's great. So I would just say put yourself out there and go to the events, message people, network, and there's great people here in Columbia.
It's wonderful. Is there anything you're especially looking forward to in your year as an ambassador? I know that's a hard one. I feel like you're a pageant winner when I ask that question. What would you like to accomplish as Miss Columbia?
I think honestly, just the people that I'm going to get to meet. I think networking is great from not just a professional standpoint, but a personal. You learn something new about so many different people every time you meet someone, which is great. And just events that are coming up. I love Food and Wine Festival. That's one of my favorite events in the spring that's coming up. And just getting to talk about Columbia and show that it really is a great place to live and visit. And I think our tourism scene is really growing over the years, and there's even more potential for it. So.
Yeah. And I know you and your fellow ambassadors, they always pick an interesting mix of people.
Yeah.
It's always people who come from different walks of life and different backgrounds, and no exception this year. Have you gotten to hang out much yet with your other ambassadors? I know y'all are newly arrived to the job.
Yes. Yeah, we had a kickoff party about 2 weeks ago, and I got to meet them. I am a little more familiar with John Scherer from Historic Columbia just through different events that I've done in the past. He did a tour above the Drake Stuck In space a while back, and that was really cool. That since they're one of my clients, we got to go up there. And,
that's great.
Which is now going to be a Hotel Trundle, which is really cool.
Exciting, yes.
Yeah. So I haven't got to meet. Well, I've met the other two, but haven't got to hang out with them quite as much yet.
I'm sure that'll come as the year goes on. Well, that's great. Mattison, thank you so much for being here today and telling us a little bit about the Experience Columbia, South Carolina Ambassadors Program. You can learn more about that program at experiencecolumbiasc.com, and you can learn more about Mattison and interviews coming up with the other ambassadors as well as at coladaily.com. I'm Alan Wallace.